Old Testament lesson is from Exodus chapter 14, verse 15. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why do you cry out to me? Tell the Israelites to go forward." And it is from John chapter 16, verses 20 through 22. Very truly, I tell you, you will weep and mourn, but the world will rejoice. You will have pain, but your pain will turn into joy. When a woman is in labor, she has pain because her hour has come. But when her child is born, she no longer remembers the anguish because the joy of having brought a human into the world. So you have pain now, but I will see you again, and your hearts will rejoice, and no one will take your joy from you. Thank the word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
You may be seated.
Thank you, Jody. Trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way. And if I could only remember that when my trials and tribulations pop up in my life. Now, last October, I stood up here and filled in for Pastor Kathy, and I asked you all if you were ready for your overflow. And I'm going to recap real quickly. Thanksgiving of 2016, my daughter and I were talking, and she was kind of saying, "Oh, Mom, you know, I might lose my babysitter," and yada, yada, yada. And I'm recently retired, so, you know, I opened my mouth and I said, "Okay, well, if you need me, I'll come." Well, you know, I went home, and Christmas passed, and got into mid-January, and I get this phone call. She said, "Mom, is that offer still good?" I'm like, what did I offer? You know, I'm sitting here like, too many months have passed by. I'm like, I don't remember. But anyway, she reminded me. She said, "Well, you know, I lost my babysitter." And I'm like, oh, man. It's like, okay, you know, nobody's going to turn down their kids. Nobody's going to say no. But my mind is saying, is there any other way that I can make this work for her and not disrupt my life? So I'm sitting here and saying, well, have you tried so-and-so's son? "Well, Mom, he's gone to college. He can't do it." "Well, what about so-and-so's daughter?" "No, that's not going to work either." I'm like, oh, man. I said, okay. I said, well, it's going to be a while. I got to clean off my calendar, and I'll be there as soon as I can. And I'm sitting there thinking, seriously? It's like, where do I start? I've never had to pack up my house and leave for several months. So I'm thinking, okay, trying to get the logistics and everything, and started out, you know, you got to do something with your mail. You got to figure out what you're going to do with this. I cleared my calendar for church meetings and Mary Kay meetings and social outings with the girls and all those good things. But bottom line is, I was determined to go, and I was happy to go. And those 4 months, it ended up being the best time of my life. I got to spend 4 months with my grandkids, other than the 1 or 2 weeks when I normally see them. So we got some real bonding time and everything. And my cup overflowed with blessings after blessings. And can't you just imagine how Moses felt? He's sitting there taking care of his business. He's tending to the flocks, and he's just going about his business. And he ends up at the foot of Horeb, at the mountain of God. He sees this burning bush, and he's kind of like, what the heck? And he hears God calling Moses, and he's like, "Yes, sir." And so he told him, take off his shoes and come a little closer. So Moses, being obedient, he did that. So then when God told him, "Hey, I want you to go back to Egypt and free your people," he says, "I see them suffering, then they need to be let go." Well, Moses was just like me. He's trying to figure out, well, let me see. I can't do that. You know, I'm not worthy to do that. I don't talk plain. How am I going to convince Pharaoh to let the Israelites go? God told him, he said, "Hey, no problem." He says, "I got you." He said, "Whatever you need, I've got you." He says, "Take this staff," and he said, "I'm going to just do what I tell you to do." So, you know, I'm going to paraphrase instead of going on and on and on. But anyway, he made it back to Egypt, confronted Pharaoh. Pharaoh told him, "Nope, not going to do it, not going to happen. And, you know, he did all his little magic, well, I won't say magic, all the miraculous things that God provides for us. So anyway, so this went on and on after 9 plagues. And so Moses was getting kind of upset and frustrated. So, he and God sitting there talking and, hey, man, what I do? God told him, he says, 10th plague, he said, after this one, he says, I guarantee you, Pharaoh's going to let the people go. Sure enough, when he cast that and he performed that last plague on Egypt and Pharaoh's heart broke and he let the people go. So everybody's packing up, they get all their riches and everything they have and that's dear to them and everything and head out. Well, you would think that, God would send them on the easiest, straightest path. Nah, God doesn't work like that. He said he's going to make sure that they encounter some little rough roads and some tough times because he wanted to see really basically what they were made out of, I'm sure. So as they're heading out, all of a sudden when the king of Egypt finds out what happened, he decides, oh, this ain't going to work. This is not going to work. Pharaoh's heart gets hardened again, and he's sitting there like, okay, let's round up. We say posse, but he rounded up his guys and chariots, all the best chariots, all the officials and soldiers and everything. They headed out after the Israelites. And so as they got there, the Israelites encounter the Red Sea. They hear the Egyptians coming. They hear Pharaoh, the horses and everything behind them. They're sitting there looking like, what the heck? Where are we going to go? And they're crying out to God like, why did you bring us out of something safe? We could have stayed in Egypt and served them, and you brought us out here into the wilderness to let us die. Moses said, hey, just chill, just be cool. He says, don't fear. He says, we got this. Stand your ground. See the victory that the Lord is going to offer you. So they're still sitting there like, okay, we're surrounded with all this water, and Pharaoh's behind us, and what's going to happen? Well, we all know what happened. God just made it easy. He split the Red Sea. Israelites moved on through the split water, and as the last person crossed over, he closed that sea right back up. And as Moses had told them, all these people you see today, you're not going to see them anymore. And sure enough, they were swallowed up in the Red Sea. And all that time, and they were whining and crying, and Moses said, why do you cry out to me? Why do you cry out to the Lord? He said, and God told him, tell these Israelites to go forward. And that's what we have to do. And as life was moving forward, even by all those years way back then, life was moving forward here at Wall Street. In late 2019, early 2020s, Wall Street faced our Red Sea. And everybody else in the country faced it too. It was the COVID epidemic. Pastor Kathy and an admin board, they helped us maneuver through that with some really out-of-the-box thinking in order to keep us active and to keep us safe. And life continued on at Wall Street. And we're just moseying right along and just kind of just cooling and chilling and getting back into our normal groove. Well, then in October 2022, Pastor Kathy introduces us and tells us, hey, we got this young man here. He's going to be our student pastor. And, he's in seminary, so we're thinking, okay, well, he'll be here for a few years. And this little spunky dude and little kind of just look nerdy, just funny. I mean, he was good. And that was Harley Matthews and his beautiful wife, Amanda. And we knew that the possibility was that they might leave, but we were enjoying it while we could. And while Harley was here, he brought us in a little bit, moved us a little bit further into podcast series. And most of us, if you're old like me, like, what's that? How does that work? And a lot of social media, online stuff. And we enjoyed it until he got up November 10th, 2024, and told us that he and Amanda were expecting their first baby. But then the sad part came that they were going to move and go back to Texas. And okay, but then we started thinking, what are we going to do? who's going to take over our podcast series? Who's going to take over the streaming stuff, you know? We didn't have anybody. We sitting there thinking and thinking and thinking, and you don't realize how much a person does until they leave. And he just did so much, but keeping still it's not so easy at times, you know. Things in life keep happening, and we were working through Harley leaving. Things kept on happening at Wall Street. And then, daggone it, Sunday morning, January 26th of this year, the Timbernees get up and told us they were going to retire after 27 years. I mean, we're used to seeing them and Nathan every Sunday, unless they're sick, which was rare, or they were on vacation. So not only do we have to figure out what we're going to do about Harley leaving and filling all the things he did, and we had to worry about hiring a pianist, a choir director, one person, two people, we didn't know. And so we're sitting there like, oh my gosh. So after they made that announcement, I tell you, when Becky played the postlude, it was just like this. Everybody was so quiet. Nobody got up and walked out. Nobody talked. I mean, we were just in shock. I mean, we were kind of quietly sniffling and stuff, but it was just like, what the heck? And I know personally I was shocked. I felt trapped. And all the while, I mean, I could kind of understand their decision, but we didn't want to let them go. We did not want to let them go. But in our mind, we know that change is good, or so they say, and we have to move forward. But I'm thinking, daggone it, I just don't handle change well. I mean, I can deal with it, but it's just not me. So as we're slowly adjusting and start looking for a new musician, Tuesday afternoon, March 17th, I'm sitting in White Castle parking lot, kind of grabbing a quick lunch, and my phone rings. Now, most of you, if you're like me, if you don't know the number, do you answer it? I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know this number. I'm like, I don't know, maybe I should answer. And something told me I better go ahead and answer it. So the next time I answered it, and all I heard was Karen. I said, yes. So this is Mitch Geiselman, district superintendent. I'm like, man, I'm like, yes, sir. I was like, okay, what do you want? He tells me, I need you to call an immediate staff parish meeting. I'm like, well, when? He said, 2 days from now. I'm like, oh, I said, okay. I said, yes, sir, okay. So I'm sitting there after I hung up, I'm thinking, we don't have a big staff here. And Becky and Eric already said they were leaving. And surely he wouldn't call me for our custodian or the bookkeeper. So then I'm thinking, oh my God, man. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. I'm like, man, is Millie leaving or Pastor Kathy going? I'm sitting there like, so I was tempted to call Pastor Kathy. Well, I called her. And yeah, she didn't say anything. I'm like, yeah, that wasn't much help. So I'm thinking, okay. But I tell you what, when we met that night, Staff Parish on Wednesday evening, oh, good old Mitch just dropped the bomb that he was moving Pastor Kathy. That boardroom, I tell you, it wasn't as quiet as it is here, because I tell you, every last one of us was crying and in shock and sniffling and snorting and snotting. I think we probably ran out of Kleenex, but I think Debbie and I looked at each other and we said, seriously? It's like, okay, now we got to do somebody for podcast. We got to do streaming. We got to find a musician. And now they want us to find a pastor. So while we had Mitch held captive, guess what? We sat down and laid it on him. We told him, this is what we want. We want this. We don't want that. And he's like, okay, I'll try to do my best. Yeah. I'm not that familiar with how the workings go, but I'm learning. Sometimes when they say I'm doing my best, may not work out, and sometimes they do. Well, in this case, it did. So the following week, Mitch had his meet again, and we met, and we kind of drilled our new prospective pastor and asked her what we could do and for her, and she asked us what she could do for us. And we sitting there, and Mitch is scribbling and writing and scribbling and writing, and I'm like, okay. So we finally got things kind of like, this is kind of cool. This is kind of cool, you know. So far, so good. But we're still sitting there thinking, through all of this, you know, we've had our pain, we've cried, we've mourned, and just like the reading said, when a woman's in labor, it hurts. But as soon as you have that baby, that you forget about that discomfort and the pain, and you're so overwhelmed with the joy of bringing a new life into the world. It's all good. So guys, we've had our pain, we've cried, we worked through the logistics of figuring out what to do with the future podcast series. We've hustled and interviewed and searched and sent out requests, trying to find just that perfect fit for our musician. And we grilled Mitch on what we wanted in a pastor. And all that pain, and now we can rejoice with the knowledge that God knows best. Although we didn't want to lose Harley, Becky, Eric, Nathan, Pastor Kathy, or the kids, we had a good fit here. We had a wonderful family. Everybody was close-knit, you know. But, you know, God knew it was their time to come. And again, we cried and we mourned. We had our goodbye parties. We celebrated and the bittersweet memories and the bittersweet cries and stuff. But now we're rejoicing. Wall Street, we are moving forward. And before we move further into the service and start our communion, I'll have Reverend Sharon Elliott Fox come up. I want to present to others and introduce to some our new senior pastor, Pastor Deb, and our new musician, Jack Fox. I know without a doubt what Wall Street can do and how Wall Street is open and loving. If they weren't, I wouldn't be here today. I have seen nothing but Christian love here through each and every one of you all, and I am thankful and glad to call Wall Street my family. And now I'm going to hear, we're going to sing. We're going to sing one of my favorite hymns, It Is Well With My Soul. And I am so thankful to have Miss Colette here. I've known Colette for years and years and years. And so if you're able and willing, please stand as we sing hymn 377, It Is Well With My Soul.